Hi everyone, you have reached Chronicles of the Gray Hair Diva. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. For all of you out there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Hit the like button, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. And share my video with your friends and family so that they can come to my channel and get to know me also. I'm here today with my quick review on the Real Housewives of Potomac Reunion Part 1. I believe, just like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that this is going to be a 4-part reunion. And again, like I said, with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, based upon what we saw today in Reunion Part 1 for the Real Housewives of Potomac, I feel that we probably could have wrapped this up in a 2-hour special, but they broke it up into 4 parts, so they're holding us captive. What do I think about today's episode? It was a bunch of fillers, and I'm hoping and I'm hopeful, based upon the preview that they showed for part 2, that part 2 is going to give us a little more oomph. So part 1, I'll start with Giselle. Andy's still asking Giselle about this relationship or non-relationship that she had with Jamal. He wanted to know, when did they really break up? Giselle really did not answer. He asked about the taxes that Jamal owed. Well, and truthfully so, Giselle said, "Nah, I don't know nothing about that, and it's none of my business. Me and him are not married." He asked about, how her daughter felt about, showing, her driving scene, on the show. And she said her daughter is a good sport. And I do believe that. It probably was no big deal to her. And he also talked to Giselle about how she's not emotionally available for her children. And she kind of glazed over that. So we didn't get many answers from Giselle, just like we didn't get many answers from Erica Jane. And although the severity of their storylines is a big gap difference, but the idea of them both, just dancing around and never answering questions is the same. So, well, let me stay on Giselle for one moment, because Karen kind of jumped in on the whole Jamal thing and was like, why would you go back to a man that cheated on you before, and he kind of cheated on you again? And she felt that Giselle was better than that. And all of them started to kind of chime in on that theory, like, why would you do this to yourself? Was you not extra hurt because he hurt you the first time and then you went back to him and he hurt you again? Giselle said she was numb to it, so it was no big deal to her. And then Robin tried to come to her defense, and Robin was like, well, y'all cannot get mad at Giselle. You can't tell someone how to feel. And I do believe that. But Wendy, who seems to be trying to make sure she never ever gets fired from the show, she tries to jump in, and Robin has to tell her, like, be quiet. And I was glad Robin told her to be quiet, because Wendy seemed the entire reunion part 1 just to be bopping her voice in, like a little, just bopping her voice in every time someone spoke or tried to speak. Even I believe she told Mia to shut up at one point and was like, huh? But anyway, Giselle, we got some of Giselle in part 1. Do I think it was necessary? No. I thought it was a bunch of fillers, but hey, that's what we got. So now let's move on to Messy Wendy. Wendy, I don't get her, and we didn't get much of Wendy this particular episode, besides Wendy just inserting her way in and talking about Giselle. We didn't get much from Wendy. Let's move on to Candiace. In her situation, it is kind of broke my heart. So Candiace said that pretty much her husband was so upset about, her mom talking about him when he watched it back, when he actually got to see the scenes and everything that her mom was saying about her husband. And she said, it's pretty much destroying her family and she doesn't even know what to do. And she told us that the in-laws watched the show and it's just heart-wrenching, and she actually cursed her mother out. Well, her and her mother, as we've seen over the years that Candiace has been on the show, have a very volatile relationship. It is not the best mother-daughter relationship that one could be. I never forget, Candiace's mother actually slaps her in the face with a pocketbook. So the fact that Candiace, cursed her mother out, not shocking. It's just sad that this is the way that their relationship is playing out. And it's sad that the mom feels the need to talk about her daughter's husband all the time. So Ashley kind of jumps in on this conversation, and she said, about Chris, that Chris seems to be drinking more. And she said Chris is not the same Chris that they met in the beginning. And they also asked Ashley, do you think your family would be better off, or you wouldn't be in this position if you were not on this show? Well, I think, she pretty much said yes, but I think that can go for a lot of, relationships on these shows. I mean, come on, Robin, that can apply to you also. Do you think you and Juan may be in a better position if you were not on this show? I don't know. But anyway, do I feel for Ashley in that sense? Absolutely. And I also think her mom, forgive me, needs to put a muzzle on her mouth. This is the man your daughter chose to marry. You don't have to love it, but you should at least like it and support your daughter. As long as he is not putting his hands on your daughter, get over it, Dorothy, and support your daughter. They talked to Candiace about her mouth. And first 1 minute I'm Team Candiace, then the next minute I'm not, and then I come Team Candiace again. She kind of drew me back in a little bit tonight, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I do agree with her that, everyone on the show runs their mouth. So why is she getting beat down so badly when she runs her mouth? When everybody does, this verbal abusive stuff, when they feel like it. And so Giselle pretty much told her, which I thought was dead wrong, that if Mia would have clocked her, she would have been like, oh, well. And I'm saying to myself, wow, Giselle, is it really that serious? I think both Mia and Candiace threw back and forth some verbal insults. I think that all of them do verbal insults all the time. And I think, with Wendy, the only reason why Giselle doesn't come back against Wendy is because Wendy verbally is winning over Giselle. Everything that Wendy says out of her mouth, Giselle has zero comeback. But if Karen says something to Giselle, she has a comeback. So I felt bad for Candiace. I hope there's some resolution. And Andy kind of drilled Candiace a little bit and said, why am I always waking up to people saying that you should be fired? And Candiace, she was pretty much saying, well, I ain't the only one. People tell you all the time they should fire Robin. And so Andy was like, but people are telling me to fire you over your mouth. I want to see more Candiace. I want her back next season. She needs therapy. And not just because of the things she said to Mia, but because the dynamics between her mom and her, she needs some resolution. That was Candiace. I don't know, guys. Let me know how you feel. So Ashley was pretty much, she shaded Chris a little bit. And I told you that piece already because she said, Chris seemed to be drinking a lot. And I will say this, that to me, for as I watched this season, he did seem like he was hitting the bottle a little bit extra than I ever seen before. I don't know the reason why, and maybe when they bring Chris out, that question will come up, and Chris can tell us the reason why. Do I understand why Chris is pissed at his mother-in-law? Wholeheartedly, 100%. And when a man or even a person is at their lowest point, the last thing they need is a family member, and Dorothy is a family member. That's Candiace's mom. Because that's her son-in-law. So you shouldn't be kicking a man while he's down. If he did lose his restaurant, lose his job, lose everything, in the midst of the pandemic, kicking him, while he's already down doesn't help. So that was, pretty much Ashley's part in it. A scholar came out. She looked amazing. And the fans, and rightfully so, pretty much wrote in and kept saying they loved her look, her hair, her makeup this whole season. She was serving it up. And so Andy, because Andy's shady, he asked a scholar, like, who on here would you help with their fashion? And no surprise, she said Giselle. And Giselle was pretty much pissed. And Giselle also said, because people said that, they wrote in and said that Giselle was doing better with her fashion this year. That was shocking to me, because I didn't really see that much of a difference. Only difference I saw was that Giselle was wearing more name brands. Just because you throw in a name brand, that doesn't mean that you're just now high fashion. There was a lot of scenes where the ladies were dressed up and Giselle came in her jeans. So I didn't get that she did better with her fashion. And Giselle said she did not change her stylist. Her stylist is the same stylist that she has had from the beginning. Well, you know what? God bless her for being loyal to the people that she works with. But if the world is telling you that your fashion is a little off, and you have this stylist who, doesn't help you turn things around, maybe it is time to change your stylist. You have a platform and an opportunity of a lifetime. You want to be known as the girl who, just wasn't good with fashion? And this stylist, whoever the person is, they're doing themselves a disservice, because I would never want that stylist to dress me. So maybe Giselle is the person's only client. I would love for her to show us who this person is. I wouldn't hire them, but we need to know who they are so we know not to hire that person, because they're doing a very bad job in styling Giselle, in my opinion. I forgot Andy asked her about the house and asked her if it is now uniform, cohesive. Did it come together, or is still looking like three different parts? Her boo jumped in, Robin, and said, it's sort of kind of coming together, and there's no more purple walls. So we shall see. Maybe next season we'll get a tour of the finished product, and all should be well. Karen, it wasn't too much with Karen just yet. I guess we'll see more of Karen next season. I think he did talk to Karen. What did he talk to Karen about? I'm trying to remember. Well, he talked to Karen. Like, Karen addressed, the whole Jamal situation, and she felt like, Giselle shouldn't have went back. And Karen, he did talk to Karen and I want to say Wendy about them always saying that, a person is not whole because they don't have a man. And Karen owned up to it. And I guess she kind of half apologized by saying that she felt Giselle could have better. But, it is what it is. And Giselle tried to jump in, but Andy, he reminded Giselle, for a whole year or whatever, you shaded Karen about raised taxes. And maybe that's why Andy brought up Jamal Bryant taxes. It's like you had the nerve to shade Karen about raise taxes, but now Jamal, has a tax issue. But the difference is Giselle is not married to Jamal. So Karen tried to, say, oh, if it was 2008, they could bring you in, you should get lawyers. She knows a little something about this. Giselle said her and the girls are good, and I'm not mad at her. Not much from Robin. And the Mia situation. Mia went from she was a stripper, wasn't a stripper, worked in a high-end, I guess it was a strip club, but it was a very high-end strip club, and G helped build the high rollers section in this club that she was in. G did not fund, every business that she has now. It was a lot. And Andy asked her, did she ever take her clothes off? And she said, yes, I took my clothes off, but I would have my boxers, like boxer booty shorts on underneath. So I'm guessing she's saying she didn't strip down to nothing. She told us how she ended up falling in love with G, how they got together, and G was pretty much always like, different. But not different in a bad way, but different. But, they fell in love, and here we are. Candiace also, I forgot about this. She said to, Mia, I did not like when you wanted to say that if your mother relapsed, it would be on me. Candiace told her if your mother relapsed, it would be on you. You brought your mother on the show for a storyline. It didn't look like your mother wanted to be there telling her story. So Candiace gave that ownership back to Mia if anything happened to her mother. But Mia said her and mommy are doing fine. Mommy is actually babysitting her kids while she's at the reunion. So all is well. Everything's good. Mia's mom did not relapse. So, hey, we're safe. She survived her first season of The Real Housewives of Potomac and her story being exposed to the world. I think that, unfortunately, there are more people that can probably relate to that type of story than we could probably ever imagine. There's so many people out there where, they didn't go through the perfect childhood. Perhaps they was with maybe an alcoholic mother or dad or a drug addict parent in their household, or maybe just one parent. And there's people out there that don't even know both of their parents. So I think it was relatable to a lot of people, and that's why maybe for a lot it wasn't such a big deal as it appeared to be when you was watching it on TV. Do I think Mia was a little, extra with her mom? I do, but I'm glad and happy to hear that, all is well with them, and mom is currently getting to know the grandchildren even more, and they're in a good space and a good spot. So, am I looking forward to part 2? I'm looking forward to part 2 because I'm hoping that we get a little bit more. Like I said, this part 1 was nothing but fillers. It was information that I could have done without. There wasn't too much resolution on this, particular part 1 reunion. And to me, if anything, they should have started off with a bang and, maybe gave us fillers in the middle and then end with a big bang. I don't know. So there was my recap for Real Housewives of Potomac Reunion Part 1. Let me know your thoughts. Chat with me in the comments. And when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. And don't forget, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.